I usually speak to much smaller groups at the high school. I don't know if you've heard that I went to school once for health service management, but I actually teach computer science at Seton High School. And the room is usually 5 to 10 students at a time, so this is a little bit more challenging for me. So let's just see how this works. When Amy was 10 years old, and in 5th grade, we lived in a house on Floral Avenue in Johnson City, a little house that had a very poor heating system. So she would often do her homework at night by sitting on the heat grate that was in the corner of the dining room. And I would be sitting there doing my lesson plans and correcting papers for the next day. I'd be at the table, but she'd be on the floor with her books. And every once in a while, I would just say, "How's it going? Did you get through that page or that chapter?" And she'd say, "No, I'm having a little trouble." And so I would say, "Can I help you?" So I would want her to come up to the table and sit with me, but she didn't want to get off the heat vent. So I would go down on the floor and try to help her read the assignment for the day. And so I would say, "Well, just read it to me if you're having trouble." So she would start reading, and then all of a sudden I would notice that a word came out that was not in the sentence that I was reading along with her. So I said, "Stop, wait a minute, where did you get that word?" And she would point to it on the page, and she said, "Well, it's right there." But it would be like an inch or more further down the page. And I said, "Oh, you skipped some words, you skipped some sentences." She said, "Well, I don't know, my eyes just jumped." And I said, "Well, do your eyes jump all the time?" She said, "Yeah." So I started getting worried that she couldn't really see what was on the page. So I said, "Well, we need to have your eyes evaluated." And I'm thinking, what are we going to do? I have to have my daughter be able to read the assignments that she has. So I'm thinking in my head, remember now, I'm not a health professional, so I'm thinking, well, maybe we can take the muscles in her eyes and just sort of like weld them, in position so her eyes don't jump. Thank God I was not in charge of her medical care at that time. Well, very soon after that, I saw something on 60 Minutes where they did an investigation report on a doctor who had created a treatment for people who had a similar problem. It's a form of dyslexia. And he came up with vitamins, supplements, and all kinds of other natural treatments for people who had trouble with their vision. So right after that, I called one of her aunts. It was probably Pam, who's sitting right here. And I said, "Can you find this doctor for me?" And we found out that he was in New York City. And so then probably her mother made the appointment. Do you remember all this, what I'm saying? Oh, she's nodding. Okay, good. She remembers. Okay, so this was like in December or so, and we were able to get an appointment for the middle of January. So it was maybe, we had to wait like 6 weeks or something to get down there. Well, the day we decided to go, it was a terrible snowstorm. And we didn't want to give up the appointment, so we get in the car, and we start driving, and the snow starts coming down. I'm on Route 17 holding the steering wheel like this and trying to peer out the window, and it was a blizzard. So I drove 15 to 20 miles an hour all the way to New York City in the middle of this blizzard so we could get to this doctor's office. We got to New York City about midnight. We got to my aunt's house, and she thought we were crazy. And the next morning when we woke up, the streets still weren't clear, so it took us like an hour driving down Northern Boulevard to get to this doctor's office. We finally get there, and the doctor is there. Well, we called, of course. And I sat in the waiting room and waiting. And finally, Amy comes out with her mother, and they had this box of all these medications that she's supposed to be taking. And there's something for the nerves in her eyes and the blood vessels and the health of the cornea and all these medications. I'm looking at them, and I realize that I've come all this way through a snowstorm and nearly killed myself and my family for a box of vitamins. Well, I told you all that because I just wanted you to know that Amy had trouble with her eyesight when she was younger. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you to do a little experiment for me. I want you all to just close your eyes for 10 seconds. Close your eyes and count to 10. Okay, if you're willing to do this now, or if you've already started, raise your hand, please, so I know that you're participating. This is what we do at school. Okay, all right, the people who are not raising their hands are probably pickpockets, so keep your eye on them once you open your eyes. Okay, now I want you to try to remember how many people are sitting at your table. If you're standing, try to remember who's sitting next to you, whether they're tall or short or light hair or dark hair. Okay, you got that? Okay, you can put your hands down now. Open your eyes and look at the people next to you and see if you counted correctly. I just want you to see if you counted the right number. Oh, I had some people say, oh, I didn't see you. I didn't see you. Yeah, okay. All right, so just one more time now. Just raise your hand if you got the number exactly correct. Exactly correct. Raise your hand. Okay, now keep them up, and if you were only off by one, now you can raise your hand. Okay, the people who don't have their hands up, those are the pickpockets. Okay, you can put them down now. All right, the reason I asked you to do that was so you could realize how hard it is for us to see things that actually exist. Now imagine how hard it is to see things that have not come into being yet, which are not there yet. See, that's a real talent, seeing things that we believe will take place in the future. And I think Amy has that. She has what we call vision. I think you've heard that word. A couple of other people have used it. Just think about that word for a second. Isn't it strange that we use the word vision, which is normally associated with things we have in front of us and we can see. We use the word vision also for things that we cannot see, things that are going to happen in the future, things that have not even begun yet. I think on the board you're going to put the stepping stones, right? Yeah. I'm not going to read this to you. As a teacher, I know that you're not supposed to read the PowerPoint behind you. If you turn your back on the students, they throw things at you, erasers and things like that. So I just want to summarize and say that the vision is that we do things gradually, that we start services as we become qualified to give them, and as we are able to get larger facilities, more of them, as they become available, we're going to move into bigger places. None of this would be possible if Amy had not had that quality of vision that I think we all need. And I'm so impressed that she has it now. I was just over to her house. Was it last night we were doing this? We were looking at this, and she's drawing this picture for me on a piece of paper of the entryway to the healing house, and she says, okay, over to the left we're going to have these rooms, and over to the right we're going to do this, and then there's going to be some meditation rooms here, and there's going to be a wall in between them with water coming down, and we're going to be looking out in the gardens. And I said, Amy, where did you get this vision? How did you do this? I mean, if this is what my daughter has developed into now, I just have one message for her today, and that is that I have kept your 5th grade social studies textbook, and I would like to start going over it as soon as possible.